Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming today. My name is Juan Aguilera. I'm part of the Symposium Core Committee. We put a lot of work into this event, and we appreciate you coming today, and we hope you enjoyed your experience so far. We want to extend our gratitude to the faculty present today for your commitment with the Undergraduate Business Program and its students, as well as their support in today's industry sessions that ran very smoothly. We also want to recognize today's Platinum sponsors, Accenture, Aldi, Altria, GE, PNC, and Red Ventures, for all their support and commitment with the Carolina students and people. This would not be possible with all of you. Thank you for all the students for making your way down to the business school on a Friday, for valuable opportunities for networking, career development, and of course, free food. Every symposium is always dedicated to you. Now I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest of honor, Rick Elias. Rick is the CEO of Red Ventures, a technology-driven marketing and sales company whose strategic partners include some of the country's largest brands. A native of Puerto Rico, Rick attended Boston College and Harvard Business School before starting work at GE's financial management program. He co-founded Red Ventures in 2000, just months before the dot-com bubble burst. By 2007, the company had weathered the storm and was ranked number 4 in the Inc. 500 list. Success at Red Ventures is driven by advanced internet analytics, proprietary technology, and the company's most important asset, its people. Today, Red Ventures employs more than 2,700 people in Charlotte, Boston, and Sao Paulo, Brazil. And the Charlotte office has been named one of the best places to work in Charlotte for 7 years running. Rick's leadership style earned him noteworthy recognitions in 2011 when he was named EY Entrepreneur of the Year. And his inspirational talks on family, business have been featured in TED Talks, CNN, and MSNBC. Beyond Red Ventures, Rick is focused on creating a greater economic mobility for more than 5 million young adults who are out of school and unemployed in the United States. In August 2012, he founded Golden Door Scholars, a nonprofit that creates educational and career opportunities for performing undocumented students through scholarships, mentorship, and career development. To date, Golden Door has sent more than 45 students to colleges of their choice. Armed with his favorite motto, "What got us here won't get us there," Rick is constantly finding new ways to reinvent Red Ventures' business model while also maintaining the company's unique culture. Please join me in welcoming Rick Elias.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Juan. Thank you, UNC, for having me here. Every time I hear introductions like that, I'm reminded of a meeting I was lucky to have with Simon Peres, who was at the time the Prime Minister of Israel. He was actually leading on the polls, and he was getting all these attributes, and one of my section mates said to him, "Hey, how do you feel about all these awards and all this recognition?" And he said, "Awards are like perfume, nice to smell, but dangerous to swallow." So when I hear those words, I always remember him and remember the humility by which a world leader took a compliment like that. I also drove in today, and I'm driving around, and I'm like, what a beautiful campus. What a beautiful place. And I'm starting to say to myself, why didn't I come here? Why did I go to Boston College? It was freezing, it was miserable. Like, I should have been here. You guys have much better sports, much better school. And then I recognized that I probably would have not gotten in here, so I'm probably speaking to a bunch of people that got into a school I could have never get in. So that's a disclaimer for the day. When I accepted speaking here today, I thought maybe I'd talk about the power of luck, something that I feel very passionate about, a philosophy that we have as a company, a philosophy I have personally. But yesterday I was in San Francisco, and I woke up in the morning, and it was 6 a.m. here, 3 a.m. there. So I woke up, and I'm like, I'm not really sure that speech is for the audience as much as it is for me. I would find it interesting. So at 3 a.m. I started to scribble notes, and I asked myself, what would I want to know if I was in college? What did I learn in my decade of my 20s? When I was in my 20s that I wish I knew coming out. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you guys 3 lessons that I learned in my 20s that I wish I knew when I was your age. That make sense? All right. So 2 disclaimers though. In life, it's really easy to connect dots looking back. You can always say, well, I got here because of this, because of this, because of this. It is nearly impossible to connect dots looking forward. It's nearly impossible to say, well, if I lay down these 7 dots, I may get there. Life doesn't work that way. So that's a disclaimer. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to connect dots looking back. I'm not expecting that you say, well, how do I connect them looking forward? And the second disclaimer is that there are really 3 types of people in the world. There are people that learn from their experiences, from their mistakes. There are people, and those are smart people. There are people that learn from, that don't learn from their mistakes, and those are not smart people. We all have a few of those in our families. And then there's people that learn from other mistakes, and those are called the wise people. There are very few wise people in the world. As a matter of fact, I've never met anybody. So I'm going to give you my experiences, not because I want you to learn from them, from maybe that gives you a little bit of stimuli, a little bit of something you put in your file, in your memory later in life. So the 3 things I learned that I wish I knew when I was your age are the following. The first one is, be willing to take more risk. Your life has been pretty cozy, pretty comfy. They've been structured for you. From kindergarten all the way through graduating from college, you've had to make some decisions, but not that many. You know, the boundaries of life have been pretty narrow and pretty tight. As soon as you graduate from here, that changes. Well, last night as I was flying here, I stopped in Toronto. And I stopped in Toronto for the funeral service of a dear friend of mine. And the reason I bring him up, for 2 reasons. One is, he was a UNC grad, UNC Law, incredible guy. He died suddenly of a heart attack. But his son got up, and his son is 18, and he spoke as beautifully as I've seen anybody speak. And he said, in talking about his dad, he said, you know, my dad, I don't know how I'm going to live without my dad. He said, I know that I cannot be brave, but in his honor, I'm going to try my hard to be courageous. And he went on to explain that the difference between bravery and courageousness is about fear. When you're brave, you don't sense any fear. When you're courageous, you overcome your fear. So in his honor, I'm actually going to rename number 1. And my advice to you is to actually become more courageous. To recognize that there's a lot of fears that we all have inside. Listen, I was nervous getting up here. I speak all the time, and I still get nervous. The key, by the way, is not to, you know those butterflies? The key is to make them fly in formation. They never go away. You just make them fly in formation. So be more courageous. If I look at my life, I came here to the US and I did not speak any English. I could read, I could write a little bit, but I did not know that I did not know English until I sat in my first class of history and I didn't understand the professor. It took big courage to leave a cozy island of Puerto Rico to come here. And it was a real tough adjustment. There were plenty of nights that I cried myself to sleep. No one knew it. I was lonely. I wish I was home. I have a great family at home. It would have been a lot more comfortable. But I look back at that decision with a tremendous amount of fear that I had at the time, and I wonder what my life would have turned out if I just stayed home. When I finished Boston College, I really had 2 choices. I could have gone to Michigan and gotten my MBA. I got accepted. Or I could go to GE and go through their financial management program. At the time, GE had a wonderful training program, or they still do. They're a great MBA school, so to speak. So I went through their program, and GE was the standard in 1990. I know that's a long time ago. But they were the standard, the kind of company that you want to go and learn. And I went for one reason, is they had a rotation in Japan that I really, really wanted. I got lucky. I got to Japan. I got to Japan for 6 months. I ended up staying 2 years. And I remember how nervous I was moving to Japan. The third was asking my wife to dance. I was blown away by my wife for 3 years before I asked her to dance. And I had the courage one day to ask her to dance, and 18 years later, I made the best decision ever. Courage is overcoming fear. For you, as you head into your careers, you're going to decide how much courage you're going to exhibit. At Red Ventures, we talk a lot about failing fast, about, celebrating our failures. But my advice to all our young grads when they come in is take more risks. Be willing to take risks. When you go out into the world now, life will favor the risk taker. You've got to understand that what got you here won't get you there in many ways. The second advice I have for you is to put your hard hat on. What do I mean by that? Over the next decade, you will set your life up in many ways. Your next decade will define how you're going to live maybe your next scary, maybe 70 years. My sense is the average life by the time you guys age may be closer to 100. So be willing to work really, really hard over the next decade. I always think about you are in planting stage, not in harvesting stage. You need to develop a lot of new skills. You need to learn a lot about yourself. You need to be very engaged into self-awareness. You need to find an environment wherever you decide to do that you can do all those things as fast as you can. Intuition is nothing else than having seen something before. Put yourself in a situation where you can build your intuition as fast as you can. In many ways, think of Christopher Columbus. He left Europe, he got in the Pacific, he was looking for Asia, and all of a sudden he found America. Your journeys, what you're about to get into, will require a tremendous amount of hard work, but it will require you to be willing to change your mind. I think immigrants are very successful because they come here with nothing. My challenge to you is to adopt the mindset of an immigrant, to be willing to outwork anybody. When my dad told me, hey, whatever job you take, you're the first one in and the last one out. And while that wasn't always the case, many times it was. So in your 20s, regardless of where you go, you're going to decide a lot of your life by the work that you're willing to put into it. And the third advice I have for you, and perhaps the more important one, is that it's okay not to know what you want to be when you grow up. As kids, we ask our kids all the time. I have 2 young kids. You ask them, hey, so what do you want to be? And it's a fun game, and they want to be a fireman or a policeman or whatever those fun things are. But for you, it's a lot harder, right? You got into college, and I'm sure every question you get asked is, what's your major? What are you majoring in? And the pressure starts mounting. And then everybody around you starts deciding their major. And some of them speak with such conviction. They're like, hey, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go to Morgan Stanley, I'm going to go to HBS, I'm going to do this, and you're like, holy cow, I'm so far behind. I don't even know what I'm going to be. And my sense is we fail you guys because the common advice that you hear today, you hear a lot is, well, follow your passion. How many of you have said, hey, just follow your passion? Follow your passion, that's the career. Raise your hand if you've heard that. Just follow your passion. Just be honest. Okay, now, be honest. How many of you know what your passion is? Very few. And that's tough, right? You should follow your passions, but no one has told you what your passions are. And you should know. You should not know what your passions are. So my advice to you is, the only way you're going to find your passion is by getting in the court or by getting in the game. And instead of following your passions, follow your strengths. Follow the things that you're good at. In life, the more we practice the things that play to our strength, the better we get at them. And the better we get at them, the more fulfillment we get out of them. And the more fulfillment we get out of them, the more we want to do them. And all of a sudden, you get into this very virtuous cycle that if you're in an environment, in a situation, in a place, in a company, in a role where you're getting better at it every day, you start feeling very successful. So think about yourself. Think about the kinds of problems you like to solve. If you like to solve complicated problems, and those are the problems that have an A and have a Z, and you got to cross every dot, maybe you should be a surgeon. Maybe you can be a lawyer. Maybe you can be an accountant. But if you like to solve complex problems where you only get 40% of the facts or 60% of the facts, and you like to rely on your intuition, you should think about different problems. And I know today you spend a lot of time thinking about industries and looking at, different industries. I would argue that an industry is a lot less important than actually the type of place that you join and the type of chance that you get at learning about yourself. You may think about, well, but how do I rationalize this? When I was 15, I told everybody I was going to be X or Y, or what. I just declare a major. I'm about to finish a major, and I don't really know if I want to do that. Be courageous. If you don't know what you want to do, the last thing you want to do is to continue to compound that mistake. It's okay to deviate. It's okay to make a left-hand turn and say, hey, I'm going to go and find out more about myself. It's okay to go into an environment where you can actually take a step back. I've seen too many of my friends that had committed too early to something, and most of the time it wasn't even their idea. It may have been their parents who told them, you'll make a great doctor. And doctors they are, but unhappy they are as well. So maturity, adulthood is nothing else than looking into deep inside and saying, what do I want to shed and what do I want to keep? And you need to think about what are the things from your childhood that you no longer think are appropriate to you, and you need to have the courage to say, I don't have to be that. My closing thoughts for you is, you're incredibly lucky. In many ways, you're in second base already. There are many people in first base, there's some people in home plate, but here's what's scary. There's 5.5 million young adults, your age, between the ages of 16 and 24 in our country today that are not working and are not in school. Those people are not even in the game. Those people are not even, they're in the dugout, waiting to get on. I encourage you to have a sense of gratitude about this, to understand that lots of people have worked really hard to put you in this spot, your parents, your family, your professors, your friends, your teachers, and to take advantage of it. I find people waste so much time worrying about things they can't control or things that are not problems today but problems someday. I encourage you not to waste energy and not to waste time. Get in the game, learn about yourself. You make a mistake, change gears, go somewhere else. But find a place where you can find yourself first. But if anything you're going to do in your journey, make a commitment to leave this place better than you found it. I've been incredibly lucky. More than anything. I couldn't get into this school if I tried. I was a limo driver in Boston. I just randomly had a lot of balls bounce my way. And I find myself driving into work every day, seeing thousands of cars, and I don't see success. I see responsibility. I say, wow, that's a lot of car payments we have to make. I see fulfillment. I feel fulfillment. I feel like I've lived a life that aligns to what I want to do. But even with all that and all the success I've had, I would change places with all of you if I could. Because the real secret is the journey. The real secret is having the ups, the downs, the lows, the highs, the courage, the fight, the getting up. You guys are incredibly privileged to go into a world where so many great things are happening, where there's so many opportunities. Take advantage of them, go on offense, Don't let anybody tell you or define what you can be, and don't let anybody say that you can't change your mind. Thank you for having me. I think we're going to take Q&A.
We're opening the floor to any questions.
You know what is really interesting? Red Ventures didn't set out to be this. For the first 4 years of our journey, we actually were a very different company. For the last 10 years, we've evolved dramatically. What we are today is not what we were 4 years ago. So our success really is in our culture and our technology and analytics and our people. I was at Facebook, when I was coming back west, I was at Facebook and I was meeting with a bunch of their senior people. And we're gonna start using some of their social technology for a bunch of stuff. And you start thinking about how is that gonna impact the future of what we're doing. And I'm pretty sure that how we define ourselves today will be very, very different. Not just geography, we just opened Brazil, we will be in Europe next year. I really would like to be in Asia in the next 3 to 4 years. But more importantly, the technology that we're using and how we're going to market. It's a very dynamic world for sure. I think our success was our ability to attract a lot of incredible talent and build a culture where everything is written in pencil in our minds. And when we say that, we mean that everything we believe today will at some point being wrong. So being uber flexible, to change our minds, to iterate, to make new bets, to get into new industries, to change our business model, to change our practices, has allowed us to maintain incredible growth. This year, we'll grow 38%. Even if anything, growth is accelerating, because I think we have left so much open to evolve that I think that has played to our strength. It's interesting. That reminds me, Sheryl Sandberg, who was a friend of mine, she gave a speech once to a bunch of college people, and she said, if I had one criteria I would look for in a company coming out, it will be growth. I would like to go to a place that is growing, because if it's growing, that means I'm going to be given responsibilities ahead of my time. I'm going to be forced to grow faster. I'm going to be given a chance. And we see that every day. When we talk to our analysts, 90 days in, I'll sit down and have coffee with a bunch of them. They'll say, I can't believe you're trusting me to do this. Right. What they don't know is that the systems ultimately create some controls, but they're making real decisions. So for us, is the ability to create a culture where you're learning faster than anybody else, and you do that as much by your culture than by your technology. I wanted to go to work every day and love going to work. Dan and I wanted to build a company we would want to work for. And that it was silly things. We have a basketball court, not as big as this, but a full court right in the middle of one of our buildings. We have a bowling alley. I wanted great coffee, so we have great cappuccino and espressos at all our eating area places. But more than anything, I wanted to work with people that I enjoy working with. There's no a-holes at Red Ventures. And if they are, kind of the system gets rid of them. There's people, we have a ton of athletes. An incredible amount of our employees are ex-athletes, high school, college, whatever, because people that like to compete, people that like to be a part of something, people that are very driven, but at the same time, they're very much want to be a part of a team. And our senior team has had no turnover, and we've had a lot of people growing to our senior team that we have homegrown for that same mindset. So Golden Doors is, we have 45 young adults like you that are in colleges. We have a couple here. I won't point them out, not to embarrass them. But we have some, these are undocumented kids where in 30 states, they don't get in-state tuition or any federal financial aid. So there's an incredible amount of great talent going to waste. So I got to know one, and he actually graduated from here 3 years ago. I put him through school, and when Obama passed the Deferred Action Plan, DACA, I decided to take a little bit of a stance, and so we have 45 of them now. But what's really cool is we actually We've actually now are in our second class of Code to Hire. So we started, our first class was 16, now we have 15 kids from really bad neighborhoods that are not going to go to college but have computer skills, and we're teaching them how to code. And out of the first class, we hire 4 of them as junior engineers, and out of this class of 15, we probably hire 8 to 10. And what we're trying to do is figure out how do you make a difference to these people that are off the highway, so to speak. We have a much bigger program that we're going to do in the sales environment side, again, for people that don't have the same opportunities we've had. I believe that companies must have a conscience, and companies must find a way to put it back into the system. I'm not very politically minded, but I think companies have much better opportunities to create platforms for change and relying on government to do that. Thank you very much.